ranking every single legend in the game. There are 4 classes I'm going to be putting all of these legends into: C tier, B tier, A tier, and S tier. I will run through them all individually and give my reasons for why I think they belong here. And this is all my opinion. It's not facts or anything. All my opinion. So we're going to start with C tier. And in no particular order we're going to do this. So they're just in the class, C class, and they're in no particular order at all. So first off we have is Rampart, who is in C tier.
Don't ask questions.
Reason why I think Rampart deserves to be in C tier is mainly for her ability makes you have tunnel vision. So you box yourself in like so, right? You're facing a team in front of you or whatever direction. And whenever you get your ultimate, you place that down. And you are focused in the front. But it's so easy to get hit in the back. And literally, like, for example, I played Rampart because the legend I wanted to play was taken, so I auto-picked. Got Rampart. I had my turret, I saw his team engaging a bit away, so I put down my my amp walls and my turret, and I then, for 10 seconds, shot at this team that was fighting. And then immediately after that 10 seconds, I got hit from behind by a full team, and it just plowed and destroyed me. So it's just the Rampart turret.
Wait till they get a load of shit.
It's very tunnel vision like you have what, like 100 degree range or something, 180 degrees of range, but you can't do anything behind you. Leaves you very vulnerable to the back. Her tactical, it's pretty good. It's easy to place, easy to manage. And if, let's just say, for example, the top is blown off, you can then
Get my cover out of here.
So at
Putting up
least
some amped cover.
put this stuff down, but go off the top, right? And your ability is still in recharge.
Backing
If
up
you
my
pick it
cover.
up, or at least it used to, guess not.
Putting up some amped cover.
Before it used to recharge the ability when you picked it back up, even if it was destroyed, but I guess they changed that. Another reason not for her to be in C tier then. But they did give her a change, so her walls have a bit more health. But another thing, with the new season, and Fuse is... Alright, I'll just quickly demonstrate. Fuse, his tactical. Yeah, they just destroy these walls like there's no tomorrow, so... With Fuse also being, I guess, moderately out there, your walls don't really stay around for all that often and leaving you more vulnerable. And then if you also have that turret set up and the turret is the only thing left, yeah, you're just done for. Alright, so next up on the C tier list is Mirage.
After being rescued.
Mirage, like right now with the his abilities, I think he's pretty good, but I think Mirage is C tier just for one main reason. The fact is that Mirage is supposed to deceive people, but if people learn his abilities and get used to them, he can no longer deceive them. So I believe that Mirage, right now, he could be B tier, but overall, in time, he'll just become C tier again. So that's why I just put him in C tier. And I think the way the devs have to, I guess, change this so Mirage isn't always C tier is they constantly have to change and add or mix up things with his abilities, so it keeps everyone on their toes, and it takes time. Keeps getting people to relearn his abilities and allows them to trick him once again. But that's why I think Mirage is C tier. Like, his abilities just get known and it's easy to counter. And personally, I don't think his passive is all that good. Like, if they had his passive so it could last during the time of a knockdown shield, a gold knockdown, like you could get knocked down and instantly start the process, and you could res by the time you're visible again, I think that would be very strong, and it would actually give his ability some use. Because the passive, it like you do go down, like 5 seconds later you're found and killed, and without your team directly there, it's hard to not have that be wasted. Alright, so moving into B tier, the first legend I have is Fuse. Fuse, his tactical is pretty good. It gives you a good bit of damage. Like, let's see what we got here. Roughly about 40 damage. Okay, not terrible in his tactical. His passive, I also like a lot. It makes the grenades much more easy, and you can have much more of them, making it a much more dangerous thing for the team, or for enemy teams. And it also gives you much more range. And personally, I like the thermites because before, whenever I throw them, they go in a random way, but because you use Fuse, they follow a constant pattern, so they'll always go out horizontally. It's very nice, and I like it because that always bugged me with thermites. And now we move to his ultimate ability, where I think that could be a bit of work. I like it, yes, but there's some things I find a little weird. Because, what is it? Well, for one, my friend told me about this, like, he has a zoom. This is a pretty massive zoom, so if you just want to scout out a long range and you don't have a sniper, that's pretty good. But, his ability, I don't know if I like it that much because it encases. It doesn't really do an area, it encases. It's like control, or preventing from rotations. Kind of similar to Bangler's ult. Like, he has a well-rounded kit overall, I think, but it's just not too spectacular. Like, his ability could be very potent indoors, but it also poses a big risk to himself. So that's why I think he is in B tier. His kit's overall, but for some reason, his ultimate for me just doesn't cut it compared to others. His tactical's good. His passive, I think, is one of the, I would say, like, ahead of the pack passives, but overall, his kit is just, I think, mediocre, so that's why he's in B tier. Alright, next in B tier, we have Loba.
I couldn't leave so many treasures behind.
Loba, first off, let's go with her passive. Her passive, it's good on first drop when you find the best loot as quickly as possible. Right? But after everyone else has looted up, it becomes kind of pointless because you already have this good stuff and there's not much purple or gold you could need immediately. The only thing I could think of is if you need to quickly find batteries or something, but they don't even show up, so that's where her ultimate comes in. And her tactical, it's slow, it's not that reliable. I think it's better for getting one place of cover to a next, but as a mobility device, I don't think it's that good. And then that leads us to her ultimate. The amount of times I've played with the Loba,
Shops open for business.
and I could never find this one item, and I would have to search endlessly for it, and open the black market. It's there. It's easy to grab. And whenever I need meds or ammo desperately, it's there. And ammo as much as I want. And when I'm looking for specific guns, it's always helpful. So overall, her passive and tactical lacks, but her ultimate is a very, I guess, convenient thing, and that's why I put her in B tier, because the convenience of her ultimate. Alright. Moving on to the next one, we have Revenant. Revenant, well, me as a Revenant main, I have a lot to say about him, and I was very, I guess, close to putting him in A tier, but there were a couple things that threw me off. So first off, his passive. His tactical, his passive, my bad. The crouch walk so far, from my opinion, is the best because it allows you to move, I guess, quicker and stealthier than a lot. And his climb, I think it's a little underrated, especially with people with like abilities like Horizon and Pathfinder and Octane, who allow you to get up higher so much quicker. And by the time you start to reach his max climb height, it's just so sluggish. Like, it just stops almost, and you're just left there hanging on the wall, and it's just an easy target. And let's move on to his tactical ability. One of the reasons I main Revenant is for his tactical ability. It's just so useful. Like, you're healing, you're in combat, you're shooting, you can use it. You can use it whenever. There's no hindrance. As long as you're not silenced by another Revenant, you can use it. You can throw it in front of doors to prevent anyone from entering or disabling them if they choose to push. And because there's a lot of annoying abilities in a fight, i.e. like Wraith, Caustic, Lifeline, Gibby, all those abilities, like when I see them, I try to hit them first or put them in a place where they either don't push me or force push me and they lose their abilities, which is a benefit for me. And there are also times when I'm in a gunfight and it's not going exactly, well, it's a close gunfight and we end up trading because last second I do that to them and we trade. Like, I've counted maybe like 3 or 4 times recently where I've traded with someone because I threw my silence last second. Depending on the situation, it could just be I missed some shots, he had first shot, but it allows me to trade. And I just think with so many, I guess, annoying or aggravating abilities, it's just very useful to be able to cancel them out, especially in ranked when, let's say, you have a Gibby or a Lifeline, like standing next to a down person. I can sling that at them and stop the res, or if Lifeline tries to, it starts a res and it hides behind the shield, I can throw it just over it and silence her so she can't do that anymore. It's a very, I guess, unique ability and very likable for me because it cancels everything out. Now we will move on to his ultimate ability, the Death Totem. And this thing here, I have found a couple unique ways to use it. But we'll start with the traditional ways of using it first. So, first off, Revenant's Death Totem is a aggressive team push ability. If you don't have good team coordination, it can be lackluster. But if you have very good team coordination, it can destroy teams. But there's also a drawback, or a possible drawback. The team you're pushing, if they know how to counter it very well, it can be utterly useless, or it could mess you and your team up. Because I could be shot like once or twice, right? And I could still be full sending in the totem, and then it runs out, and then I'm stuck here with like maybe 5 health left and my shields. And once they break through my shields, I'm basically dead. And my team is now immediately down a player. And that's happened many times to me because I'm a Revenant main and I play the character last, so it just happens. Because I run into those people, they know how to counter Revenant, and it just doesn't go well. And I'm not coordinated sometimes with my team, but there are a lot of reasons. Now I want to move into the unorthodox ways to use Revenant's Totem that I have found. I'll give a recent example. In ranked, I was playing with my team. We ended up at containment and like 5 squads ending up coming down there to fight. I managed to slip out of the fighting, but both one of my team's banners I still have yet to recover. So I placed the totem outside of, say, the containment over by one of the vehicles. I run in there and I suicide run, what would be a normal suicide run, into the thing to get a banner. And I got it that time by like a second to spare, and I was able to respawn my teammate. Or not exactly, he died later on, but it allows you to do really risky things, well, that would be normally risky without fine, as long as you play it right. If you grab that, like if you go into a situation, do what you need to, but your timer runs out, you can be absolutely done for. But that's another thing. I would also sometimes carry a grenade. If I have a grenade, find it, and once I saw I accomplished my mission, I would throw it at my feet, kill myself, so I would be sent back to the totem, and I would be out of that dangerous situation. So there are some unique ways to use Revenant's abilities, and has a lot of potential, and I think if they just buffed his climbing a bit, or in some degree, I think it would be much better. So I think he's got some potential for growth, but overall he's not terrible, and it just requires some team coordination to get him possibly up into A or S tier. Alright, moving on. Next we have Crypto.
They tried to get rid of me.
Crypto,
They failed.
his drone can do a lot of
Sky.
things. I used Crypto a lot before before Revenant came out, so I know his abilities quite well, and I've known of the new abilities too. So let's just go through his passive ability. His passive ability is just the surveillance drone. It's just 30, like, Crypto allows your teammates to see what he sees for 30 meters. Well, 30 meters away from the teammates, but unlike a lot of other passive, which details all their abilities, he has a bunch of hidden passives. He can pick up banners from a distance with his drone. He can respawn from a distance. He can scan survey beacons at a distance as well as see how many teams are in the area of those banners. If I personally think Crypto's ultimate is tactical. Yes, it's everything based on his drone, everything's based on his drone, but overall, I think he has a high skill gap. Everything about his setup kit is good. He has the potential for a lot of good things. It's just he has a really, really high skill level or skill gap, and if you don't know how to use him, he could be if you don't know how to use him, he could be S tier. But if you know how to use him, he could be in A or S tier very well, and if you're mediocre, B tier. So and considering how most people don't know how to use Crypto to the full advantage, I just decided to put him in B tier, but he has the potential to be S tier depending on uses him and how well they use him. So, and moving on to the next one, let's see here, we have Octane. Octane is a very selfish legend for the most part. His stim, all for him. His passive, health regen, all for him. The only thing that is team-oriented is his ultimate, but his passive and tactic go hand in hand, and they make for a very good pushing character, and it makes it very handy to just run away and sometimes not even have to worry about healing, like that extra little bit of health, or even health in general. Like, so say you just got revived, you pop a shield battery, right, and just to get ready for a fight, but over time you could heal that full health back without even have to heal anything because you're in the middle of combat, which is nice. His stim, no one can catch him. If you're having a foot race with an Octane, it'll take possibly a Bloodhound, ult, or even another Octane to catch him, or if you have a good Pathfinder, but it's not easy to catch a Octane on foot. And then lastly, we got his jump pad. His jump pad got a buff, so you can go higher when you just walk over it, and when you slide over it, it goes farther, and I'll quickly demonstrate going back. But recently I've seen this used quite well, and an Octane's team has gotten right on top of my head with this, and it's just been chaotic. Like, they got on top of me, I went into a panic, I've missed all my shots, and downed me and my team very quick, just because they were able to push so quick, and it was hard for me to, I guess, prepare myself for that push. So overall, Octane's a very selfish legend with some good pushing capabilities for him and his team. So that's why I think I put him at B tier. Like, he doesn't have a whole lot to offer his team. Alright, finally wrapping up B tier, we have Bangalore. Now, Bangalore is another, I guess, Fuse, who has an overall rounded kit, but everything's, I guess, meh. Oh. So, Bangalore Smoke is good for rezzing and cover, but if you get in close quarters, it can really mess you up. Or at least for me. Her dash ability, it's very good for, I guess, quick jolts of speed to dodge the incoming fire, and it can help sometimes win a fight or save yourself from a bad situation, which I really like. And her ultimate is a zoning ult. And one thing I don't really like about it is oh, this and Fuse have the same reason why sometimes I don't like their ultimates. When they throw them, and then after the Bangalore's ult detonates, or when Fuse's fires around, you have a hard time seeing through all the smoke and debris to see people. Like, I have a hard time seeing all that, or through all that. So how, in the middle of combat, am I supposed to see through that? And this applies for both Fuse and Bangalore. Yes, it can give you some cover and zone a place where enemies can't come, but if you need to kill people in that, or they push around, it's hard to see. So, Bangalore has an overall decent kit, and that's why I put her in B tier, but her kit, like, yes, some people can use her well, but overall I don't think her kit is too extraordinary to put her at anything above B tier. Alright, so moving on to A tier, first one we have is Wattson. Wattson is a very boring legend. Just about everybody knows this. She's a very defensive, passive playstyle, but when it comes to ranked, she's just an overall good legend because she's a lot of zone areas where you and your team can defend, not get ordnance, in which case this season is very good because Fuse is a thing. Her passive for the ultimates for carrying 2 and having a single use charge, I just don't know how I feel about it. I just think she could have something better. Maybe if she had like a passive like Octane where shields automatically recharge instead of health, I think that would be better. But overall, I just think Wattson is a very good defensive legend, but I don't see her much because she's a very boring play. I hear she's very good in higher tiers, so I took that into account when making this tier list. I don't have much to say for her because I don't play her much and I don't see her much, but I'm just taking a lot of what I hear for this off others. That she's a very good defensive legend and it's very good in ranked. But other than that, that's why she's in A tier. She also has one of the smaller hitboxes of characters, but overall, yeah, she's a good defensive legend, and she's not very played much because of her passive defense nature. Alright, moving on, the next one in A tier is Caustic.
It does not control
Caustic, his gas is another defensive tool, but unlike Wattson, it can be used offensively, and it can be used like Bangalore Smoke. There's many uses I've seen for it, and many aggravating ways it's been used on me. Her passive of seeing people through the gas, if you play, like, say your ultimate into a group of enemies, you can destroy them. Like, you can just shred them with your guns. And if they get into your tactical, around a corner, you can see where they are, who they are, I think. If you're, I guess, good enough at identifying legends just by outlines. And, let's see here. Its ultimate, overall is, I guess, gas ultimate. Just, it's good. You can throw it inside buildings around. It can just make a team push, well, leave their defensive position and get them out in the open and allow you to easily destroy them. And as of recent buff, I guess a couple seasons ago buffs, you have 0 hit endurance for being on Caustic's team. And if you come across a Caustic, the only way to counter a Caustic is have a Caustic. So personally, I think the way to change him up and make him a little less aggravating for everyone to play is give the 2 robots, Revenant and Pathfinder, a complete immunity to them. Allows allows them to, you know, go after Caustic. A lot of people have said that it's always been said how Revenant and Pathfinder are effective when they're robots. While it's true they take a little less damage from the gas, but they are not immune, which I personally find not the weirdest thing, and I think he deserves a solid counter in the form of Revenant and Caustic. Not Revenant and Pathfinder. And I guess Revenant is already a counter considering his silence, but being a robot would also help that fact. But overall, his offensive and defensive capabilities with his gas, I just think make him the one of the A tier legends that are most used. And it's hard to stop him too. Like, it takes a Watson, Revenant, or a Caustic to do anything against him. Alright, so moving on to the next one in A tier, we have Pathfinder.
Come to save the day. Maybe.
So, Pathfinder for me, if you use him right, can be very good. Being able to get that distance very well or high, it's very nice. His passive, it's a little, I guess, not unique. It's Bloodhound and Crypto have the same abilities. Crypto does it better. Bloodhound's basically the same thing. He gets a little bonus for it. It reduces his zipline cooldown, but that's it. And his zipline, I think it's a very good repositioning tool, but and he has another smaller hitbox like Watson, Wraith, and Lifeline. So overall, I think his grapple is what defines his kit, and I think it's well and good and all, but it does have a larger cooldown, and the mobility is like defined and very helpful in times to get away or attack, and that's why I put him in A. But because of his, I guess, lackluster passive, and sometimes the cooldown can be pretty lengthy on his zipline, I mean his grapple, and his zipline. His zipline I got nothing to say about. I think it's perfect, but between that lackluster passive and the, I guess, sometimes longer use for his, cooldown for his grapple, that's why I put him A tier and not S tier. Alright, next we have Lifeline. Lifeline is in A tier for simply one fact: her passive. Her passive is ridiculous. This auto res in the middle of a fight that puts up his shield, I think it's way too powered, and one of the, I guess, main reasons why I main Revenant to get rid of all these annoying abilities. Her tactical, it's okay. It's not much I can say. It heals you for a little bit. It has a pretty lengthy cooldown, and her ultimate, it's an even, I think, the longest ultimate cooldown, and it's, I guess, a little lackluster.
Is it my birthday already?
So it can have some good gear in it, but at a certain point that gear becomes useless. Let's see. So let's take a look to see what we get from this. So, helmet. You either get a helmet, bag, knockdown, or body armor, depending on whatever you get. They can all, once your team has this, it's like, okay, cool, we already have this, that's useless. These little meds are good for emergencies, but they're mostly readily available, and in abundance too. And then you have these hop-ups. These hop-ups and attachments, I think, are the best about the ultimate, but other than that, it still has the same problem with the equipment you get here. Once you already have it, it's like, okay, cool, I already have this. And by the time it takes for your ability to come, it's like, I already have this, and it just doesn't really seem to have that much use in later games. I guess mid-game, if you're struggling to find loot or good stuff, I could see it being used there. But other than that, not really. The main reason she's A tier is her passive. It's just ridiculously strong, and I guess power shuffling needs to come to her other abilities. Alright, now lastly this is the last one for A tier, and if I had to put anyone at the top of A tier, it would be Bloodhound. Overall, his kit is just amazing. Being able to see where people are in a 180-degree cone in front of you for a good distance is amazing. His ultimate, being able to move fast, have a basic digital threat vision the entire time, increase the speed of it will increase movement speed, increase your overall, I guess, reduction time of your tactical to spam it for your teammates are very handy. Let's see here. Yeah, it took it from like 22 seconds to 7. Yes, it's a ridiculous cooldown, and if you do have, say, kill people in it, it speeds up your knock. I guess these dummies don't count, but it speeds up the timer of your or gives it more time for the ultimate, so you can run around, spam your scans and your digital threat more, and just be an absolute havoc on the battlefield for your opponent. And that's why I think he is very top A tier, and he might be borderline S tier. I don't know, thinking about it, why I wouldn't put him in S tier. The only thing I can think about is that scan is very big and anyone can see it. So whenever I see that or have a bloodhound on my team, it sometimes leads to us getting pushed by 2 other teams, and I feel like that's a negative impact, and that's the only reason why he's in A tier, or at least that's why I put him in A tier. Alright, moving on to S tier, our final 3. First up, we have Gibby. Gibby's, all of his abilities are good, strong, and I guess very reliable. So, his gun shield, aim down sights, an extra 50 health. It's hard to beat a Gibby in a one-on-one when you're like on level ground, same guns, same weapons, and everything, same armor. It's hard to beat a Gibby. I think they gave it in rework, so it's actually like a 50 overshield, but I'm not sure if that's true or not. I don't remember if that made it into the patch, but that's what I think will happen, or already has, and that's why it's very strong. Nonetheless, it's still 50 health, but before it could take a Kraber shot and still just absorb all the damage with no effect. Next is his dome. It gives faster healing like old Lifeline, has quicker res like old Lifeline as well. So inside the Gibby dome, Gibby acts like a old Lifeline, a very I guess good res and recover state, and gives you cover if you need to push into a team that, say, has a longer distance between you and your team if you want to push. And then lastly comes his ultimate, which is an artillery barrage that if you get caught in has lethal, well, it's very lethal. And given how fast it is compared to Bangalore's, it's just much more effective. And unlike fuses, it is a bit longer and actually hits the people inside. It just doesn't trap them there. It does a lot of damage inside. And that's why Gibby is very good in my opinion. He has a very strong ultimate. His tactical is very good and very team oriented, and his passive makes him one of the best candidates for winning 1v1s in a face-to-face off. Alright, next up we have Horizon.
I'm back, dears. I guess it was only
Horizon was a really good
I think we could all use
legend off her start. Her tactical had very small cooldown,
another soft landing,
and she's been nerfed since then, but she's still one of the top tier legends. After getting her first nerf, midway through season 7, she managed to somehow topple Wraith for her, I guess, win percentage when no other legend was able to do that before. That just proves, like, of the, I guess, previous 6.5 seasons of Apex, someone finally took over Wraith as the best win percentage. But let's get into her abilities and explain why I think she's S tier. For one, her spacewalk tactical. When you land, especially in the start game, it allows you to quickly move to the loot you want, and having the ability to quickly move to what you want can easily, very easily allow you to win in those very split-second decisions when everyone's rushing to pick up the weapons and loot. That is very helpful, and I've lost many a times to a Horizon in that situation. Her tactical
Fast yourself.
allows you
Here's a
go
pick
to
me up.
vertical. It's a good combat utensil to avoid shots and heal because you can move inside it and you're hard to hit. And combine that with their ultimate, who can trap people while you're in there and lob grenades or shoot at them from below, making them when they're easy targets because of the gravity pull. It just makes her so useful. Also, her passive, when she goes from her
Don't fast yourself. Here's a pick me up.
tactical and let's just say drops behind you without you knowing, it's hard to hear that. It is very hard to hear that. I've been destroyed from behind by a Horizon because of her passive so many times. But overall, her kit just works so well with each other. They're very complementary and can be very team situation. Oh, I guess her tactical is very team situational, and with her black hole, you can destroy teams left and right. And that's why I believe she's S tier. She also has a good hitbox and is able to compete with Wraith in terms of mobility and I guess repositioning and overall team effectiveness. Alright, so lastly for S tier,
Now for
we
the
have
right
Wraith.
choice.
Wraith has always been a, I guess her kit has always been a strong one. Being able to, for example, her passive, being able to tell when you're being aimed at is just ridiculous. Being able to know that as soon as someone's looking at you and know there's trouble, it's just very good. And being able to go invisible, move quick, or not invincible, and move quick around is a very good thing too. And lastly, her ultimate, the portal, is just a very good repositioning tool. And when you combine it with her tactical, she moves further and faster as well.
Portal placed.
And it's just a very good thing to get your team from one place to another. I very rarely go in ranked or in pubs. I go a game without seeing a Wraith. It's very rare you don't see one, and it's I say near impossible just without seeing one. She's just too good, and everybody likes her. And her hitbox is good, despite getting a I guess a expansion to it, the start of season 7. But the reason why she's an S tier is she's an S tier for any other reason, any other season or any other tier list. Her kit is just too good. Like the basics of it, like being able to know when someone's aiming at you, to go invincible, and to teleport your team from one position to the next, it's just very good in this game, where movement-based repositioning and knowledge are all important. That's why she's one of the 3 that are in S tier. Alright, well, that'll do it from this video, ranking all the legends and tier list. I appreciate the watch, and I would appreciate if you share the videos in the channel, my YouTube channel. It helps because I enjoy playing this game, and I try to put out content, and I have a ranked grind going on for Diamond, so if you like to check that out, I believe when this will go up, I will have like part 5 or part 6 currently up, and I have like up till part 8 recorded and ready to post. So thanks for watching, please share, and I greatly appreciate it, and